Hello, everybody.
Hi, welcome back.
Welcome back to another episode of the Watch That Joan podcast. I'm James.
And I'm Mary.
And this episode, we got something special, guys. We're actually going to be talking about a TV show, a series.
It's our first episode where we're discussing a television series. And it's our first episode that is going to be completely spoiler free. So if you haven't,
Do-do-do-do-do.
yeah. So, if you're like one of those people where you don't listen to the show because you haven't watched the show that we're reviewing, now you can actually listen to us. Because
Exactly.
we're going to do our
Right.
best to keep it spoiler free.
Yes, to keep it spoiler free. And the show we're doing today is Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Right? So, Mr. and Mrs. Smith
Yep.
is premiered on Amazon Prime and is based on the film of the same name in 2005 starring Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, right?
How much do you remember of that movie?
I remember that movie being funny, sexy, dangerous. Those are three words to
Yeah.
describe it, right? Because,
Honestly, and I would describe this one as the same.
yes, funny,
The TV
sexy,
series.
dangerous, right? Because the movie was about like a married couple who
That
they're
reminds me of that TLC album. Was it Crazy Sexy Cool? That's what it reminds me of. But yeah, continue.
But yeah, so the movie was starred Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, which I don't know if they were married at that time, but they were married at some point, right? And they were spies, but they didn't know it. They were assassins, and they didn't know it. And they found out that they're assassins, and the
Hold
whole
on, they didn't know it.
no, they didn't know in the beginning. They were just married, and thought they were just in a
So
normal, boring
both of them
marriage.
didn't know that the other one was an assassin.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
see,
Until they went to a
I don't remember
mission.
much about the movie.
Yeah, until they went on a mission. I think they had to kill each other. And that's the funny part because they act like they were in love, but they really were in love, but also they had to kill each other, you know? Whereas this show, starring Donald Glover and Maya Erskine, Erskine?
I think it's Erskine.
Erskine, that makes sense.
Erskine.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
they star
Skeen.
as the couple, but
Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Jane and John Smith.
Jane and John Smith, but the situation is completely different, right? They are basically matched together in this spy program ran by this secret company, and they're legally married as their undercoverness, right? They're posing as a married couple, whereas in the original movie they were already a married couple and they realized that they were also both spies. So the same kind of base theme, but that's about as loosely as they kind of get to the movie, you know. And
Yeah, so, the series follows two secret agents who must pose as a married couple to complete dangerous missions for their mysterious employer. So, yeah, I watched the show and I watched the show first and I told you to watch it because you thought it was really interesting. So, yeah, I thought this would be a really good first TV show review.
yeah, exactly. And I feel like it's slept on. Like a lot of people haven't like
It
it
really
had
is.
like when it premiered on Prime, it was very successful. But at least a lot of my friends and family haven't really saw the show. So that's why we really wanted to talk about this title, and get ready for show seasons, right? Because there's a lot of big shows coming up, including uh, Game of Thrones was coming up on your birthday, Murphy. So
Yes,
we just
I
want to kind
swear
of get
all the best movies, TV shows, and music drops happens on my birthday. June 16th is a special day.
yeah,
So,
that's Tupac.
but yeah. So, I guess basically, like I said, it's going to be spoiler free, but what did you think of the characters John and Jane Smith?
So John and Jane, right? John was former military.
John, who was obviously played by Donald Glover, and Jane, who's
Donald,
obviously played by Maya Erskine.
yes, and I think their chemistry was fantastic. The whole series, the whole first season.
It
Right?
was great. It was
Yes,
great.
it
I think
was.
there is only one season. I don't think there's going to be any more seasons.
I heard rumors there might be a season 2.
Really? Rumors from where? Screen Rant?
Something like that. Yeah, I think I saw it
Okay.
on IMDb. But rumors that there might be
Oh,
a season 2,
really?
or maybe with Rotten Tomatoes. I
Oh,
don't
that's
know.
something to look forward to.
Yeah, yeah. But
Maybe
they
you're
said
making
it
that
might
up
not.
like you always do.
I'm making up my source, but I remember the information. But I heard that Donald Glover and Maya may or may not be in the movie in the second series.
Oh, so they're going to have 2 new agents.
Maybe, which makes sense because the show ends with a cliffhanger, So that kind of makes sense.
Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties, but yeah, you were saying that there may be a season 2 of this show, and
Yes.
they may have 2 different agents, a new John and Jane who aren't played by Maya and Donald.
Yes, yes. And as you probably guessed, John Smith and Jane Smith are very basic names because the characters don't use their real name. Well, their real name.
Government names, yeah.
Their government names.
Well,
exactly.
they're the names they were born with.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. But
So
yeah, one thing that I noticed about, like you said, their chemistry was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really is the meat of the show.
Yes.
I know the show has a very sexy, cool feel, like you said. Like the clothes they wear, sexy and cool. Their environments, sexy and cool. Even like how
Even
the
their
camera
house.
moves, their
Yeah,
house,
even
the music.
Yep.
It's very New York, and they're very stylish. That's one thing that I noticed about John's character, for example. He has an impeccable sense of style.
Yeah.
And I think that honestly, I can see Donald Glover wearing all of the clothes that John wore. Like I really feel like this is Donald Glover's wardrobe. And he was like, I know I drip slab goo in my clothes, and John will too.
That's kind of funny because I imagine Donald Glover as more goofy in real life, and not like the slick. Because he was the sex symbol in this show. It was crazy. I think Ali and I talked about it. Just how it's weird that he's played as a sex symbol, but I think he did a really good job of it.
I think he did too. Sometimes I found his sexy face to be a little cringe, but like I said, regardless of that, their chemistry was amazing, which is interesting because John and Jane have such different personalities. Like
They do.
how would you describe John, and then I'll describe John.
You want me to do John and you do Jane, or we both do John?
I want to hear if you feel the same way about John that I do.
Okay. Yeah. So for John,
And then we'll do Jane.
he is definitely an improviser. He I think
agree.
he's sensitive, and because of like the relationships that he keep, even though he moved on to being a spy, like he seems kind of passionate about what he does, but also sees it also as a job, so he doesn't take stuff as seriously as Jane. And I think
I agree. Yeah, sometimes he can be naive. I think,
Yes.
like I think you saying him not taking things seriously to me seems like, was it a naivety or is it naivete? I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
being naive.
Yeah, being
So,
naive and also I think he just oozes confidence, and sometimes it's
You think
like
he
you said,
loses confidence?
I think, yeah, because I think that's why he doesn't worry about anything, and he kind of like panics and he does like he gets the job done, you know what I mean? And I think he gets the job done in his cool, slick way. And
That kind of reminds me of you and Eileen. Like I know if Eileen wants to do things, she's gonna read the manual and she's gonna go step by step and get it right. Whereas you try to find the quickest way to do things.
yep,
You
Yep.
like to trim the fat and get right to it. And I feel like that is Maya and John,
Yep.
at least in the beginning, not to give too much away. So I agree with you on that, where John is kind of more of an on the fly sort of thinker, where Maya seems to be more of a planner, you know? But
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. And I think what's interesting is that John isn't afraid to be vulnerable. And he's also, from the very beginning, we see that he's more extroverted, he's charismatic, he's a people person. And that's like a really big contrast to who Jane is, which
Yep. Absolutely.
she's very guarded,
She doesn't trust anyone.
we're not going to get into we're not going to get into what she thinks she is, because I think that's a spoiler, and I think it's interesting to hear her say that about herself, with her and her marbles.
Yep.
We're
yep.
not going to get
yep.
into that.
Yep.
But yeah, she is guarded. She doesn't trust anyone. And I love how Maya Erskine, if we're saying her name right, portrays her too. Like, even like how the way Maya portrays Jane, her facial expressions are very subtle yet effective. And I see a person who's guarded being like that, you know what I mean? Not
Yep.
smiling often, or their face not really showing too much anger at one time or too much excitement at one time. Always stay like level, and like having very hard to read sort of facial expressions, because they're afraid to let someone in and they can actually see, oh no, I'm actually hurt or angry or embarrassed.
And
And I
also,
think even there's a point. Oh, sorry. There's a
no.
point in the film in the show, where even when the character Jane is in an altered state of mind, Maya still acts in a way that I think Jane would. So I think she did a really good job portraying Maya. Portraying Jane. But what were you saying?
No, I agree, and I think part of her demeanor is a combination of her being, like untrusting and calculating, but also the part of her being like she could turn
Japanese.
to a killer very quickly. You
Oh,
know what I mean? And she could just basically turn
yeah.
the switch and go into like action mode, And I think that's kind of how she has to be to switch to that level. And I think, like you said, I think the two of them, from a spy standpoint, they every episode, right? There's 8 episodes in the season. Go through missions, and they're assigned missions. And you have to achieve it, and they always have a goal, that they're trying to accomplish, and it gets harder and harder as the
And one
season
thing that
goes
I like
on.
about these missions, one thing I like about these missions is that this this film, sorry, first TV show, y'all. This show has a lot of the classic spy tropes, but I love it. It's not cliche.
Yes, I love it too.
It's fun.
I love it
Yeah,
too.
it's like, oh, this is what I was waiting for. It's not like, oh my God, you guys are really doing this. It's like, yes, you guys are doing this. This trope, this spy movie trope, is what I was waiting for, and I'm so glad you guys are doing it, because
Yes.
yeah, it's more interesting. And to be honest, it's interesting to see the dynamic between two people who are not fully white. You know what I mean? Like, I think that
Yes.
makes it more interesting too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're minorities. They are in America. Most spy movies I think about is about 007 and James Bond. And don't get me wrong. I love James Bond. You remember the Nightfire video games I used to play growing up on the 64 and the GameCube.
What was it? We played Notfire and GoldenEye.
GoldenEye was on 64 and Nightfire was on GameCube. But
And Everything or
I
Nothing.
couldn't-
Remember that?
yes, everything or nothing. Exactly, right? But I couldn't understand their British accents. So it was different. Like, they're being in New York. We get to see the subway. And then it's also more modern. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, the more recent James Bond movies are modern. But just like their house with all the gun compartments, which is really cool. And the outfits, like you said, it felt more real because it was more relatable.
Very New
at least
York.
for us. Yep, for us.
Yeah, that is true. Like, there were spies who caught the train once after a mission.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't see that. Normally they're in a Aston Martin,
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of luxury in this show too. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of luxury and it's
There is.
great. I love to see it. But like you said, it also has like a very grounded feel to it at times too. You know, where it's like, yeah, we're spies and we can give you an evening gown and an auction. But we can also give you, I'm in New York. It's a
Yep.
Saturday. I'm getting bagels.
I remember there was one scene where they were dressed up and John basically asked Jane to check his coat, right, at the function they're about to walk into, like a coat check, and she was like, "Why?" And he was like,
Yeah.
"'Cause it's Gucci."
Well, are we going to talk about this? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
just
He was like,
because
it's
it's Gucci.
Gucci.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
it's
the
Gucci.
yeah, so that's the you know the juxtaposition, and it kind of goes up and down between
Yeah.
the
And what
luxury
yeah.
and
And one
the
thing that I
the
do
realism.
yeah. And one thing that I do like about this show is that I love the shroud of mystery over the organization
Hmm.
and their employer who goes by the name of Hi Hi. Like I like how the show doesn't
That's what they call
explain
them.
it
Yeah,
and they don't
yeah,
have to.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's like sorry guys, more technical difficulties. But yeah, what I was saying was I like how Hi Hi and the whole spy organization that John and Jane work for is very
Hmm.
mysterious because I always like it if I'm watching a TV show or playing a video game or a movie or reading a book. I always like it when something isn't overly explained. There's some things that works better when it has sort of a anonymity to it anonymity when it's more anonymous and when it's more mysterious because I feel
Yeah,
like
and
they understood they don't need to waste time explaining what the organization is and it
exactly,
works
it
that works
works.
very well.
It works, and there's a sort of ominous presence about it as well. The whole series, right? Because you don't really know who they are, or what they are, or how much information they have, and it's like Big Brother all over, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's get into some other characters in the show. Two
Yes,
characters that
this
stand
show
out.
has some incredible, I don't know, I know there's a specific term for people, guest stars. Who is your favorite guest star for I'm gonna say mine's, or do you have one?
Um, I think my favorite guest star is probably going to be Sarah Paulson. She plays the Smith's therapist, right? Where,
That is Sarah Paulson. I was looking at her face like, who is this person? She looks so familiar. That is Sarah Paulson. Yes, she's very funny.
yes,
That
and there was one
two
scene.
spies going to therapy.
Yes, they were like,
Yeah.
oh, we work together and it's stressful, and she was like, it's just work. It's not life or death, which is absolutely hilarious because
Right.
everything they do is life or death,
It
right?
it's all life or death. It's all
Yes.
life or death. Yeah. I think my favorite character, my favorite guest star is Ron Perlman. He does an excellent job
Yeah.
playing Toby. And
Yes.
I think episode 5
Yeah.
hilarious. I
Yes.
did not know. Normally, when I see him in movies, he's the scary gangster. Ron Perlman was hilarious. I love Michaela Cole. I've seen her in what is that show called?
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like a British show, right?
I May Destroy You. Yeah. I seen her in 2 shows. This show called I May Destroy You, which is on HBO. I've seen her on Black Mirror. She was in an episode. I've seen her on this other show. I think it's called Bubblegum. I don't know. It's a comedy. Now I wanna look it up. Michaela Cole. Cole.
Yeah. In this show,
Chewing
she
gum. Chewing gum.
chewing gum. Okay, and I never seen chewing
And she
gum.
was in Black Panther.
She was a Black
Yeah.
Panther.
She was in Black Panther. She was one of the warriors fighting alongside T'Challa, the female warriors, in the second Black
EOA.
Panther.
What they say? EOP. EOA.
I don't know what you're trying to say.
I'm trying to say their battle cry. E Bombay. Maybe it's something like
I'm
that.
sure it don't sound like that.
Eileen gave me a head the thumbs up. E Bombay. Um, Yeah, so she plays Bev on this in that episode, right? And Bev um becomes a sort of love interest kind of for John that draws a little tension in the episode, right? But once again it gets a little funny and back and forth and yeah. You're saying stop.
Yeah. But yeah, and you know what I learned today?
What?
So there's actually is a character, there's a guest star, her name is Beverly Glover. She plays John Smith's mom, and that's actually Donald Glover's mom.
Yeah, I did learn that today. That is pretty cool. Have
Yeah.
his mom on
And she
stage.
did a fantastic job.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. She did a really good job.
Yeah, she was believable, like his mom.
I was like, she was believable, she was grounded. And one thing I also think about, I don't know if they do their own stunts, but Maya Erskine's physical performance in the last episode was incredible.
Yeah,
I was like, this girl is just nimble and just so talented, and everyone's physical performance was really good. What one thing that I like about going back to the chemistry of these characters, even when they argue, it feels so genuine.
it does. It
Like
does.
there's,
They seem like they
yeah,
get personal too.
yeah,
This,
yeah. The arguments get very personal, and I remember watching it, and I think that not weirdly, but I feel like Donald Glover shines in his portrayal as John being angry, like the the incredulous faces that he makes when Jade says something offensive, or the way he punctuates his points by like clapping his hands, like
yep.
not clapping his hands, but like kind of like pounding his fist into his open palm, like, or like you know how people they punctuate when they're
Yep.
when
Yep.
it's knuckle you
Yep.
buck. It's like don't with like I'm just like yo. He seems generally upset and like their arguments. I was like yo, this sounds like an argument I have had,
Yep.
and like everything they're saying is just so real and their emotions are real. Yeah, like this show, the chemistry is off the charts. Off the
Yes.
charts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I ever heard that they ad-libbed some of those arguments. You know what I mean? They would give like the creative
Wow.
freedom to bring their own personality in those fights, which is probably why it felt so real, you know? And
Wow, that makes a lot of sense.
and the show, throughout the whole season, it's about the spy stuff, it's about the survival and the action. But I think at its core, it's a love story, and I saw an interview where the actors, Donald Glover and Maya, and the director, what was the director's name? I looked
And
up.
there's a bunch. I know Hiro Murai was the exec. No, that's producers. I don't know who the. I think her name, the director,
I had it, but anyway,
Francesca Sloan,
yes,
maybe.
yes, her, yes. So they were talking about how at the core, it's a love movie, it's a love show, right? It's a love story, and their relationship kind of builds and grows as the seasons go on. So, from a technical
Yeah.
aspect, Mary, from like, what did you think? Since that's your cup of tea, your wheelhouse.
It's not. What do you mean by technical? You mean like the cinematography,
Yes. Yeah,
the mise en scène?
cinematography.
It was
Yes.
beautiful.
Yeah, because
It
they
was
travel across the
moody,
road.
which is perfect. Yeah, to
Yeah.
beautiful locations. Yeah, it was moody but romantic
What do you mean by
and
moody?
moody. They use a lot of dark tones and a lot of areas of high contrast, meaning like everything seems kind of like underlit. Like it's just a lot of dark grays and blues and blacks and everything. The whole show to me seems like it was like an overcast of clouds,
Yeah, no, actually, I
which
agree.
fits it because, like I said, yeah, like it fits the mood of the series because this is the chic New York based television series, and they're doing a job that's
At times, get very
it's
dark.
seen as very sexy.
Yeah, sexy. It gets
Yeah, it gets
dark. You
dark,
know.
and it's sexy. Yeah, yeah. So I think it fit well, and even I noticed there are some pans that the director or whoever deals with the choosing certain shots and camera angles. There's certain pans that happen. Like I remember when, for example, for one episode they go to Italy, and just how the way the camera pans, it just felt. I could have swooned. I could have swooned. It was just. I just felt like I was there too. Like I don't know, in Lake Como, and I just thought, oh man, like it feels like I'm being transported, and it makes you
Yep.
want that life.
Yeah,
Maybe
it
not the
does.
death,
Maybe not the violence, but
but
no.
it makes you.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, for
yeah.
the adventure. It makes
Yeah,
you
it's
yearn. It makes you yearn for the adventure. Right. I think that's exactly
yeah. It
what they want. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So no, I think they did a great job. A great job.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah,
Do,
James, so anything else you want to talk about?
yeah. Only other thing I was gonna say is, what do you think is so important, right? And this is at least this is how I feel, right? That I appreciated having a black male lead spy, right? Because like I said, I've been a James Bond fan forever. You know, I've been Mission Impossible fan with Tom Cruise, and I feel like we don't really get many movies besides like Denzel Washington in Training Day when he's a dirty cop of like a black protagonist that's also like a spy, you know?
Denzel was a spy. Oh, he was a snitch. Well, he was like what's that called? Like a mole in Training Day.
No, no, Denzel was a dirty cop in Training Day. He's a dirty cop in Training Day.
Oh, so oh, I thought you were comparing him to a spy. But
No,
no,
I'm just
I think it's really cool.
keep going.
What'd you say?
No, so
Oh,
keep going.
um, yeah, I think it's really cool that we have two spies that are people of color.
Yeah,
You know, because Idris Elba was supposed to pick up the mantle to be the new Black James Bonds for years now, and he hasn't.
I know. Black
So
Twitter has been
Donald
advocating
Glover
it for
have to do it.
years. Exactly.
Yeah, Donald Glover had to do it, and kudos to him because he was also, he the one who really thought of the idea of a Black Spider-Man too in one of his music videos, and now we have Miles Morales.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Yeah,
kudos to him.
no.
It was like I said, them just not being white brought a whole new like perspective to the show, and you
Yeah.
may not get it if you not,
No,
but
it's true. In my
you know I
in my mind, it just
it
needed
was
to seem more
refreshing.
yes, refreshing. It was relatable. They could
Yeah,
it was funnier to me because of you know what I mean. There's just certain things that you can relate more,
yeah,
you know. And I thought that was
because
awesome. One of the
we
main
live in a
reasons
world with the deep,
where the what?
but we live in a world where the default character is white.
Yes,
So you know once you kind of take away that default to whiteness, you're like, oh yeah, other people actually behave differently and talk differently and think differently. Like these, like white culture isn't the only culture that exists, and now it feels like we're getting something new and something more familiar. Well, at least to me. So yeah, I think
no,
it was very
absolutely,
refreshing and a great choice. A great choice.
yeah. So, what would you rank this movie, this TV series, Mary? It's so hard not saying movie.
Yeah, I would definitely rank this a large bag of popcorn. Definitely.
Yes.
I encourage everyone to watch it. It's a short watch. Well, not short, but so far it's only one season, 8 episodes. You can knock it out in a weekend if you really wanted to. It's on Amazon Prime. Yeah, I had a great time watching it. I remember, like I said, I saw it and I called James immediately and I was like, you need to watch it. It's really good. It's really good. It's funny. It's sexy. It's cool. It's a TLC album. So crazy, sexy, cool. So yeah, definitely a large bag of popcorn.
Yep, I 100% agree, Mary. It's a large bag of popcorn, and I watched that, John. It really caught me off guard. I did not expect it to be that good. I think folks who like spy movies or action or romance or thrillers and don't mind a little bit of violence should go watch it. Like you said, it's on Amazon Prime,
Yeah,
and
that is one thing too, guy. If you're like queasy, if you're like queasy to violence, it's not super violent either. Like it
yeah,
really, it won't
to
give you the
American
heebie-jeebies.
standards. Yeah, to American standards, it's not like a slasher. You know what I mean? It's so violent,
Yeah,
but
true.
it's not a slasher.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think um that's all I had, folks. This is another episode of the
Yeah. Thank
Watch
you
That
guys so
John.
much for listening.
Yeah, another episode of the Watch That John podcast. Thank you for listening. Um, Once again, you can follow us at Watch That John on Instagram. You can follow our YouTube channel at Watch That John podcast. And you can listen to us audio wherever you get your podcast. So thank you very much, and until next time.
Bye.